Hey, what's going on, Ram fans? Hope you're all enjoying the holiday. I'm going to get to my Week 17 power rankings and my game picks here in this drop. And before I get to that, I'm going to share a sports pet peeve that occurred to me this week. What are we doing playing football on Christmas Day? The NFL giving these guys 3 days of rest. And, look at it this way. On top of that, they don't play Monday Night Football in week 18 because they don't want a playoff team potentially having only 6 days of rest, 5 days rest, whatever the case may be. Those week 18 games are pretty important too, and you have teams playing on Wednesday and Thursday that'll have extra rest going into the final week. I mean, Seattle playing on Thursday will have an extra couple of days of rest if that NFC West Championship comes down to the final game of the year between the Seahawks and the Rams. But the bigger problem is asking these guys to play on Wednesday, 3 days after they played on Sunday. It's just kind of ridiculous. I really feel strongly about this. We should not be playing on Christmas Day. The NFL knows they can get a lot of eyes on the TV, a lot of eyes on the game. So that's what they're rolling with. Really, really bad idea. Enough of that. Let's get to my power rankings, and then we'll roll right into my Week 17 Rams Up Straight Up picks. Well, let's talk about the green room first. Who is in the green room? Who was in the green room last week and still there? The Seattle Seahawks, after losing that heartbreaker in front of the 12th man. You think about the Seahawks season. They'd lost to the Giants, super painful, right? Got to be ruined that day. And then they lose in overtime to the Rams, a game that they probably should have won. And then this one to the Vikings, giving up that late touchdown. Man, Seahawks really let the season get away from them. Those 3 games, losing to the Giants, probably the biggest one of all. 2 teams dropping out of the top 12 into the green room. The Texans, maybe not that significant of a loss in the grand scheme of things, but losing Tank Dell, that is seriously going to hurt. They got it locked up in the AFC South, but not feeling good about their playoff prospects at this time. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who may have just cost themselves a playoff spot with that loss to the Cowboys. They've lost twice to the Falcons, remember, so they may be in trouble. And 3 teams just outside the green room looking in. 3 teams I could have easily included, but decided not to. The Cincinnati Bengals, Indianapolis Colts, and Miami Dolphins. So who is my number 12 team, dropping 3 spots from number 9 to number 12? The Denver Broncos. That game against the Chargers just got away from them. I thought they were going to cruise to a victory there for a little bit, and they are at risk of missing the playoffs, especially if the Bengals beat them this week. That is a big game. Number 11, the Washington Commanders, 10-5 after beating the Eagles, one of 2 teams that I have moved up out of the green room into the top 12. We'll get to that other team in a second here. Are the Commanders a team of destiny? Let's think about this. They beat the Bears on a Hail Mary. They beat the Saints by denying them a 2-point conversion after time had already expired. And then they beat the Eagles with a TD with 6 seconds left. This season could easily have gone sideways for the Commanders, but they're winning these games, and they're winning them at the end in somewhat exotic fashion at times. Could be a scary team in the playoffs. My number 10 team dropping 2 spots, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I am predicting they will lose that AFC North title, end up as a wild card team. And number 9, moving up 1 spot, the LA Chargers, due to that win over the Broncos. A nice little mini offensive explosion for that other team from LA, but the defense not as convincing as it was just a few weeks ago. And my number 8 team. Last week I was probably a little hard on our Los Angeles Rams. I had them still in the green room. They are now my number 8 team, my second team to come up out of the green room along with the Commanders. 5 straight road wins. This team is rolling right now, winning in different ways. A shootout against Buffalo, in the rain against the 49ers, and then in bitter cold on the road against the Jets. Sticking at number 7, just like last week, the Baltimore Ravens. And the reason they haven't moved up, even though they had a big win over the Steelers, the teams above them pretty much holding steady, playing very well. So the Ravens stay at number 7. Number 6, the Green Bay Packers. Man, they just dominated the Saints. You know, the Saints, their season's basically over. They're playing with a backup quarterback. They're a dome team. They go up north to play in the cold against a really good football team. Tough place to play, but that was not a good effort. Not sure how much weight we should put on that big win, though, for the Packers. Hey, you go out and you play the games that's on your schedule, and you win them handily. They're my number 6 team. My number 5 team, the Eagles, dropped from number 2 to number 5, but you still got to give them a lot of respect. Yeah, they have a 12-3 record for a reason. But I just have this sneaky suspicion that this is not going to end well for the Philadelphia Eagles. Much like last year, it won't be as bad and as resounding as last year, where they just fell off a cliff at the end, but not feeling good about their chances of getting to the Super Bowl. My number 4 team, the Minnesota Vikings, they move up 1 spot, leapfrogging the Eagles with that thrilling win in Seattle. The Lions, my number 3 team, moving up 1 spot, also at the expense of the Eagles, after beating the Bears. And my number 2 team, the Buffalo Bills, struggled a little bit more than I expected against the Patriots. But man, they are a good team, especially on offense. And my number 1 team, the Kansas City Chiefs, just like they were last week. Solid win against the Texans. Didn't expect Mahomes to play, and he did. And, you know, we've been kind of saying this all year. They have not been that impressive, but they have the best record in football. They're the defending Super Bowl champions, and they have a quarterback that knows how to win in the playoffs. And they're probably going to get to the Super Bowl again, aren't they? Although I think the Bills are going to, I want to see the Bills Chiefs in the AFC Championship. I would pay a couple of bucks to watch that. Let's roll right into my Week 17 game picks. Recapping Week 16 first, Pete and I disagreed on 2 games. He had the Commanders over the Eagles, so that one went his way. I had the Dolphins over the 49ers, so that one went my way. So we split on those 2, and then there were 4 other games we both got wrong. We both had the Texans over the Chiefs. I didn't think Mahomes was going to play. We both had the Cardinals over the Panthers. Was not aware of that trend. Panthers handling the Cardinals pretty regularly in Carolina. We both had the Jags over the Raiders. What are the Raiders thinking? They need to lose out if they can. And we both had the Bucks over the Cowboys. You know, Cowboys, it's been a horrible year, but, you know, they still got some players, don't they? So where does that leave us? We both went 11-5, and I maintain my 10-pick lead over Pete. I'm 161 correct, 79 wrong. That's 67% correct. Pete 10 behind me, 151 correct, 89 wrong. Let's walk through these 16 Week 17 games, starting with the Christmas Day games. Might be over by the time you hear this. Chiefs favored by 3 over the Steelers in Pittsburgh. 2 trends working against each other here. The Steelers are 5-1 at home this season. The Chiefs are 6-1 on the road. So something's got to give. I think it's going to be the Steelers. The Chiefs win a close one. The Ravens at the Texans. Ravens favored by 5.5. Is Deontay Jones truly going to make up for the loss of Tank Dell? I doubt it. Texans could potentially move up to the number 3 seed by jumping over whoever ends up winning the AFC North championship. Essentially, the Texans have already locked up the AFC South. Ravens locked up a playoff spot trying to jump over the Steelers and take the AFC North crown. Ravens on the road, but I'm going to take them. Thursday night, Seahawks at the Bears. Bears 3.5-point underdogs. This is an evening game, primetime game, so it will dip into the low 30s probably. So that's not going to be too much of an impact. Not that cold, not bone-chilling cold like we saw in New York. Seattle trying to bounce back from that painful loss. Their playoff hopes are on the ropes here. I think they win this game. We have 3 Saturday games. We'll save the Saturday night game, Cardinals-Rams, for last year. But Saturday morning, the Chargers at the Patriots. Chargers favored by 4. Another game that will be played in the low 30s. Chargers defense has allowed the fewest points in the league this year, but hasn't been so great the last couple of weeks. Patriots have a huge edge in this series, 27 wins, 16 losses. Patriots had won 12 of the last 13 against the Chargers at Foxborough until last year. The Chargers won a barn burner 6-0. Chargers got something to play for. Patriots are going to put up a fight. It'll be a close game, probably low scoring. Chargers win. One of the more meaningful games of the week, the Saturday afternoon game, the Broncos at the Bengals. Bengals are actually 3-point favorites, playing really good football. They could stay alive with a win over the Broncos. Broncos are the team they're chasing, so plays out perfectly for Cincinnati. The Broncos host the Chiefs next week. The Bengals play at Pittsburgh. I've been talking all year about what great finishers the Bengals are, especially if Joe Burrow is healthy, and they're going to finish strong this year. They're going to win this game, and I think they beat the Chiefs next week as well. Sunday games, Colts at the Giants. The Giants, man, talk about a horrible year. Colts are favored by 7.5. It's amazing that the Giants beat the Seahawks. It really is. Colts rushed for 335 yards last week. No, that is not a misprint. Now, the Broncos and the Bengals play before this game on Saturday. So if the Broncos have already beaten the Bengals, this game becomes meaningless. But I think the Colts will win regardless. The Giants are just not a good football team. Well, I'll have to say it. They are a horrible, no good football team. Sorry, Giants fans. The Jets at the Bills. Bills favored by 9.5. And remember, the Jets lost their great rookie left tackle. Bills pretty much locked in as the number 2 seed in the AFC. Undefeated at home this year, 7-0, and they will win this one as well. Titans at the Jags. Jags slight favorites, 1 point. This is in the games we don't care about department. Jags will win this game. This is all about draft pick order, really. Do you want to win this game if you're either one of these teams? The players want to win. The front office, maybe not. And another game in that category, Raiders at the Saints. Saints 1.5-point favorites. Another draft bowl game then, right? Saints coming off that 34-0 loss. Raiders ended a 10-game losing streak by beating the Jags last week. A game that, again, probably shouldn't have won it. But, as fans, you end up rooting for your team regardless. But then later on, you're like, man, I wish we had lost that game. Saints quarterback situation, pretty dire right now, but I think they win at home. Panthers at the Bucks. Bucks 8-point favorites. No one taking the Panthers for granted anymore, are they? They ended the Cardinals' playoff chances last week. This game is just critical for the Bucks. Must-win game, so you have to take them here. Bucks win. Cowboys at the Eagles. Eagles still favored by 9.5 last time I looked. And those odds suggest Jalen Hurts is going to play, right? Cooper Rush actually playing a little bit better lately. The Eagles win this game, especially at home. Dolphins versus the Browns. Dolphins favored by 6.5. They have a very slight chance at making the playoffs. I've seen it listed as 8%. So there is a chance. It'll be cold, but not bitterly so. Miami will win this game, but I would not be surprised if the Browns pulled it off. A game I wouldn't touch betting-wise. Now I talk about important games. How about the Packers at the Vikings? Vikings favored by 1.5. Christian Watson, the great Packer wide receiver, might not be able to go in this game. Banged up his knee. It's just a bruise, but he may be held out. Packers just shellacked the Saints last week, and the Vikings coming off an emotional win at Seattle. This is a battle between my number 4 and 6 ranked teams. As I said a moment earlier, as I went through those rankings, Vikings won the first matchup back in September in Green Bay, 31-29. I have a feeling the Packers will win this one. My gut tells me they're going to win. 2 coaches from the McVay tree here. I don't know, man. I'm still picking the Vikings. And then Sunday night, another important game, the Falcons at the Commanders. Commanders favored by 4. Falcons trying to stay 1 up on the Bucks. Actually, they don't need to stay 1 up. They need to stay tied with the Bucks. but that's not for certain, is it? This is Michael Penix versus Jaden Daniels. So not sure what we're getting here, but I have a hard time picking a quarterback getting his first start of the season this late in the year. I don't know, maybe it'll work out in the long run, but you got to go Commanders here, right? And then Monday night, the Lions at the 49ers. Thought they might have flexed this game because it's really not, I don't know. Yeah, I guess there's reasons why this game could be entertaining, but I don't really want to see it. More of a curiosity than anything else. Lions favored by 3.5, trying to stay one up in that home field advantage battle. We should be rooting for the 49ers here if you care about that strength of victory formula, if you think it might come down to that for the tiebreaker. But I'm going to take the Lions. They're just a much better football team than the 49ers at this point. And then finally, the Cardinals versus the Rams at SoFi Stadium. You know, when they put this on primetime Saturday night, I don't know, lost some of its luster with Arizona being eliminated. But what's the NFL going to do? They can't flex it again. So this is what we get. Hopefully the Rams show up. I think they will, but I don't really like watching my team in prime time. Much rather it was a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. Rams are going to get their revenge here, though. Man, that offensive line is just playing so good. Cardinals running back James Conner might be able to go, but with both tackles out, both their starting tackles out, might be wise for the Cardinals to sit him, right? We'll see. Rams win. As I said in the roundtable, my prediction, Rams 30, Cardinals 17.